You know the rule before you even open the chart. Risk 1%. Wait for confirmation. No revenge trades after a loss. You wrote it yourself, on a good day, with a clear head, because you already knew this would happen. So why, an hour later, with the position moving against you, do you break it anyway? It's tempting to call this weak willpower and move on, but that explanation doesn't actually hold up. You're not undisciplined in every part of your life. You show up to work on time, you pay your bills, you probably kept a promise to somebody else this week without even thinking twice about it. So if you're capable of discipline everywhere else, why does it specifically collapse the moment a live position is on the screen? The answer isn't about how much willpower you have. It's about what's actually happening inside your head in that exact moment, and psychologists have spent years mapping it in far more detail than most traders realize. Start with a study that has nothing to do with markets at all. Psychologist Wilhelm Hoffman ran one of the largest real-world studies of self-control ever conducted, pinging over 200 adults on their phones several times a day and simply asking, "Are you experiencing a desire right now, and are you resisting it?" The results were striking. People reported feeling some kind of temptation nearly half of their waking hours, not occasionally, almost constantly. And self-control didn't fail because people were unusually weak. It failed in specific, predictable conditions, when the desire was strong, when resisting required effort they'd already spent elsewhere that day, and when the reward felt immediate while the cost felt far away. Does that sound familiar? A losing trade is exactly that kind of moment. The desire to just get back to even is strong. You've probably already spent your mental energy watching the position for the last 20 minutes, and the relief of closing it or doubling down to fix it is immediate, while the damage to your account only becomes obvious later. Hoffman's data would predict that this is precisely when self-control breaks. Not because you're uniquely bad at trading psychology, but because this is one of the most self-control hostile moments a normal brain can be placed in. There's another detail in Hoffman's findings that maps onto trading almost too well. Resisting a temptation successfully in one moment made people measurably more likely to give in to a different temptation shortly afterward, as if the effort of holding the line briefly used something up. Think about how a trading session actually unfolds. You resist one impulse to move a stop loss at 10 in the morning. You resist another urge to chase a breakout at noon. By 3 in the afternoon, when the real test shows up, a position that's down more than you planned for, you're not meeting that moment with a fresh reserve of discipline. You're meeting it running on fumes from every smaller battle you already won earlier that day without even noticing you were fighting one. Here's a question worth sitting with for a second. If temptation is this constant and this predictable, why do so many traders still treat each broken rule as a personal failure instead of a pattern they could actually see coming? If you're finding this useful so far, this is a good point to hit like and subscribe, because the next part gets into the second piece of psychology that explains exactly why the want side of your brain keeps winning. Part of the answer comes from a second researcher, Ayelet Fischbach, who studies how people pursue goals when two goals compete for the same moment. Her work draws a distinction between want goals, the things that feel good right now, and should goals, the things you know are right for you over time. Fischbach's research found that behavior in any given moment depends heavily on which of these two goals is more mentally accessible right then, not on which one you choose if you are asked calmly in advance. That distinction matters more than it sounds like it should. When you wrote your trading rules, your should goal, consistency, risk control, long-term edge, was fully in charge because nothing was competing with it. But the instant a trade goes red, a want goal shows up uninvited. Stop the pain, feel in control again, make it back right now. And Fischbach's research shows that in that head-to-head competition, the want goal usually wins, not because it's stronger in some permanent sense, but because it's simply louder in that specific moment. Fischbach also found that how you frame your own progress changes which goal wins. When people feel they're already doing well on a should goal, they tend to give themselves permission to indulge the want goal, a pattern researchers call the licensing effect. A trader who's up for the week is often more dangerous to their own account than one who's flat, because a good week quietly whispers permission to take the sloppy trade. "I've earned this one" is one of the most expensive sentences in trading, and it tends to show up right after a string of wins, exactly when the should goal loosens its grip. Most traders respond to this problem by trying to white-knuckle through it. More willpower, more self-talk, reading the rules one more time before the market opens. And based on both Hoffman's and Fischbach's research, that approach is fighting the problem on exactly the wrong terrain. You cannot out-willpower a want goal that's already active and loud in your head. By the time you're staring at a losing position trying to talk yourself down, the competition is already happening on the want goal's home turf, in the moment, under pressure, with relief just one click away. The counterintuitive part is this. The traders who actually keep their rules aren't the ones who resist harder in the moment. They're the ones who never let the moment become a fair fight in the first place. Fischbach's own research on goal conflict points towards the same conclusion. Structuring your environment before temptation shows up is far more effective than battling it once it arrives. That's why a hard stop-loss set at entry works better than a mental one you're supposed to honor under pressure. The rule isn't relying on future you's willpower at all. It's already been executed by past you, back when the should goal was the only one in the room. This also explains something that trips a lot of traders up. Rules that are vague don't survive contact with a want goal, but rules that are specific and pre-decided do. "I'll close my position carefully" is a should goal sentence with no teeth. It leaves room for negotiation, and a want goal is very good at negotiating. "I close any position that hits -1%, no exceptions," is a decision that's already been made, which means there's nothing left for future you to negotiate with in the heat of the moment. The rule stops being a value you're supposed to remember and becomes a fact you simply execute, the same way you don't re-decide to stop at a red light every single time you approach one. And this isn't just a trading problem, which is honestly a little reassuring once you see it clearly. It's the exact same mechanism behind why diets fail at parties, why gym memberships go unused on the days you actually needed the workout most days, why New Year's resolutions survive January and quietly die by March. In every one of those cases, a calm should goal writes the plan, and a loud want goal shows up later to challenge it on ground it didn't choose. Notice the pattern in all of those examples, though. The people who actually stick to a diet long-term aren't usually the ones with the most impressive willpower at the dinner table. They're the ones who didn't buy the junk food in the first place, so there was never a fight to have. The people who actually make it to the gym consistently aren't fighting motivation each morning. They've made the decision so automatic, same time, bag already packed, that skipping it would take more thought than going. Trading just compresses that whole cycle into minutes instead of weeks, with real money attached and a screen refreshing in front of you the entire time, which means you don't get the luxury of days to recover between decisions the way a dieter or a gym member does. Whatever structure you're going to rely on has to already be in place before the candle even forms. So, the next time you catch yourself breaking a rule you know is right, the useful question isn't "what's wrong with me?" It's "what did I leave for future me to decide that I should have already decided myself?" Every rule you still have to consciously enforce in the moment is a rule that's still vulnerable to whichever goal shows up loudest that day. Every rule you've already built into your process, an automatic stop, a checklist that has to be completed before entry, a position size capped before you even open the chart, is a rule that doesn't need your willpower at all, because the decision already happened. You knew the rule before you opened the chart. The real question was never whether you knew it. It's whether you left it something to fight for, or whether you'd already made sure there was nothing left to decide. If this changed how you think about the rule you keep breaking, tell us in the comments which one it is and what decision you could make right now before the market opens instead of in the moment when it counts. Hit like and subscribe for more of this. Thanks for watching.